Elon Musk's startup Neuralink has implanted a computer chip into a person's brain for the first time. But if the technology works, it could one day benefit people who can't move or communicate and could even have broader health applications. Here's what you need to know about brain implants. What is a human brain implant? Researchers say that a brain-computer interface will allow a person to use their thoughts to control a device like a computer or a phone. How does it work? Doctors implant these kinds of devices on the surface of the brain or deep within it. Neuralink's equipment is about the size of a coin. Synchron's is a small stent-like device that goes into the blood vessels in the brain. The devices include several electrodes that can't read a person's thoughts, but they essentially observe and interpret signals sent by neurons, nerve cells that use electricity and chemicals to send signals from your brain to the rest of your body to help it move, breathe, talk and eat. Using the recent advances in computers that came over the last 30 or 40 years, we've finally had enough processing power to build and train mathematical algorithms to make estimates of what that information might look like, and we finally have the computing power to make those estimates in real time, said Dr. Paul Neujoukian, a professor of bioengineering and neurosurgery who runs the Brain Interfacing Laboratory at Stanford University. Although the technology is newer, he said, the work builds on basic science on how the brain controls movement that scientists have understood for more than 100 years. What makes this technology work? Earlier technology had to be wired to a computer. Neuralink's device runs on a battery that can be charged wirelessly and can communicate wirelessly to the Neuralink application, which decodes the data into action and intent, according to the company. Synchron's device is connected to a telemetry unit that is hooked up to a computer. How will these devices be used? The initial aim is to help someone who has had a stroke or who has a motor degenerative disease like ALS or other physical problems communicate directly through the implant to an outside device like a phone, tablet or computer. In 2021, Neuralink demonstrated how this worked with a monkey named Pager, who had 2 of these wireless devices implanted into its brain. The devices allowed Pager to control a cursor with its thoughts and play a game called Mind Pong. When will these devices be available? Nothing in this field happens overnight, Neujoukian said. He and other academics have been working on this kind of research for decades, but technical innovation has picked up in the past 5 to 10 years as more neural engineering companies have gotten into the business. However, it takes time to get devices like this through the U.S. Food and Drug Administration approval process because the risk to individual safety is high, he said. Risks can include bleeding or infections. It often can take 10 to 20 years for a device to get approval, particularly one involving such new technology. Neujoukian is confident that the technology will help people in the future, though, there's no reason that this shouldn't be successful, he said. The science is there and sound and has been there for decades, and that gives me a lot of assurance. It is doable. Elon Musk's controversial startup Neuralink has implanted a chip in a human brain for the first time, the billionaire said in a post on his X platform late Monday. The operation took place on Sunday and the patient was recovering well, he added. Musk's announcement could mark an important milestone for Neuralink's efforts to usher potentially life-transforming technology out of the lab and into the real world. But he offered few details, and it's unclear from Musk's post how significant of a scientific advancement the implantation represents. The company had received approval to study the safety and functionality of its chip implant and surgical tools. Initial results show promising neuron spike detection. The world's richest man and Neuralink founder said on X, the social media platform he owns, Neuralink's first product would be called telepathy, he said in another post, adding that its initial users will be people who have lost the use of their limbs. Imagine if Stephen Hawking could communicate faster than a speed typist or auctioneer. That is the goal, he wrote. Neuralink has been working toward using implants to connect the human brain to a computer for half a decade, but the company faced scrutiny after a monkey died in 2022 during an attempt to get the animal to play Pong, one of the first video games. In December 2022, employees told Reuters that the company was rushing to market, resulting in careless animal deaths and a federal investigation. In May last year, Neuralink received FDA clearance for human clinical trials, and a few months later, the startup began recruiting patients with quadriplegia caused by cervical spinal cord injury or amyotrophic lateral sclerosis, ALS. The trial is part of what Neuralink is calling its PRIME study, short for Precise Robotically Implanted Brain-Computer Interface, which aims to study the safety of its implant and surgical robot, and to test the functionality of its device, the company said in a September blog post about recruiting trial participants. Trial patients will have a chip surgically placed in the part of the brain that controls the intention to move. The chip, installed by a robot, will then record and send brain signals to an app, with the initial goal being to grant people the ability to control a computer cursor or keyboard using their thoughts alone, the company wrote in September. Neuralink did not respond to CNN's request for further details. Before Neuralink's brain implants hit the broader market, they'll need regulatory approval. The FDA put out a paper in 2021 mapping out the agency's initial thoughts on brain-computer interface devices, noting the field is progressing rapidly. While Neuralink and Musk have received significant attention for their attempts at a brain-computer interface, a number of other companies have also been working in this space, including a company called Synchron, the first company to gain FDA clearance to test a device in humans in 2021. Synchron has since been enrolling and implanting patients in a trial. The idea of brain-nervous system interfaces has great potential to help people with neurological disorders in future. Tara Spires-Jones, president of the British Neuroscience Association, told the UK-based Science Media Centre Tuesday. However, most of these interfaces require invasive neurosurgery and are still in experimental stages, thus it will likely be many years before they are commonly available.